continuing from the previous episode 1775. This is, when Shuiyuan followed the guard towards the bottom of the tea house, he asked inexplicably, "My lord, the princess's palace is not here. The city on the top of the mountain is just a residence for common people and general forces." The guard said respectfully, "Is there still such a thing?" Shuiyuan asked as he walked. "The princess's identity is different, and she is the hope of the Star Continent, so she is secretly protected by many powerhouses, so her palace stands above the void of this prosperous city, and the entrances are distributed in some hidden places in the city, and there are only many powerhouses. Know the entrance. Your Excellency is here, please." While speaking, the guard gently pushed open a rather ancient giant door in front of him and made a respectful gesture of, "Please." The ancient giant gate is filled with traces of tiny words, which is obviously some kind of ancient prohibition. "Yes," Shuiyuan agreed softly, without any hesitation, stepped directly into it. "I hope you can help the princess to solve this matter." After the guards finished all this, they went back in peace. Wang buzzing, Shuiyuan had just stepped into the door of light. An extremely tyrannical force of confinement filled his body. That force was like a tree with a strong vitality, and it seemed that he was carefully examining his body. Some strange auras. I am afraid that this tyrannical force of imprisonment will unreservedly activate. Even Shuiyuan is quite horrified by that kind of power. Garden. The door of light in front of him flickered like a space shift. After the rest, Shuiyuan also appeared from another ray of light. Looking at the rather fragrant garden in front of him, he muttered. In front of it, there is clearly a huge garden, with countless flowers blooming brightly in the garden, and dozens of ancient buildings are integrated into it. However, the garden is obviously carefully carved by skilled craftsmen, surrounded by mountains and rivers, simple and elegant. Is it finally here? At this moment, on a pavilion in the endless sea of flowers in the garden, a figure looked at the edge of the garden and spoke softly, her voice as sweet and slim as Yingluan. While speaking, a strange silver power flashed past Shuiyuan's position like a star. Long time no see. After a while, Shuiyuan followed the beam and looked for him. "Huh? Shuiyuan, I haven't seen you for a long time." Seeing Shuiyuan's hearty smile, Her Royal Highness said with a frown. "I thought you had some secrets at first, but who would have thought that it was the Princess of the Star Continent?" Shuiyuan simply sat down in the pavilion and recalled. Looking back at the beginning, it seems that the princess in front of her is still like this, but at that time she was still a disciple who was cultivating in the Burning Heaven Pavilion. When I went to the Fenxiang Pavilion, I naturally wanted to learn the cultivation method in the Fenxiang Pavilion, and by the way, stabilize the things in my body. Lin Yunshu also spoke slowly, recalling the scene at the beginning. It was both ridiculous and a little fortunate. "After I left the Xuanling continent, I would like to thank you for the affairs on the Xuanling continent." After a while, Shuiyuan's dark pupils also softened. Obviously, if it wasn't for Lin Yunshu's secret concern about the resources and force of the Xuanling continent's support, Xuanling continent is impossible to be so prosperous. It's just a lot of work. After all, it's my teacher, so I can't know what's going on. For a while, Rao's noble attitude like Princess Lin Yunshu was also touched by Shuiyuan's words. "Did something happen recently?" After chatting for a while, Shuiyuan also asked with concern. Since she sent someone to the Xuanling continent to find her, it was naturally impossible for it to be a trivial matter. "As you know." At this moment, Lin Yunshu frowned, but his beautiful eyes were fixed on a rather classical building in the garden, and a trace of melancholy and even fear permeated. Crash! Following Lin Yunshu's actions, a scorching flame spread out from Shuiyuan's body, easily wrapping the entire pavilion. Acacia Yanyu completely wrapped the two of them, making it impossible for the outside world to detect them. Kacha! Following Shuiyuan's sudden scene, an aura of awe emanated from the building that Lin Yunshu was staring at just now, as if a giant dragon had awakened. "My lord, this is the princess's private matter, and I hope you..." At this time, the rockery around the garden trembled, and Lin Shuang suddenly said, "I hope this girl won't do anything bad." As soon as the voice fell, the place regained its calm for a while. "Hoo-hoo, princess, I can only win this step for you." As soon as this light voice came out, Lin Shuang was relieved and slowly dispersed to hide in the garden, always ready to protect Her Royal Highness. It seems that the matter is more serious than I imagined. The scene outside the field just now was naturally caught in Shuiyuan's eyes, and he hesitated. Yeah, fortunately, you're here. At this moment, Lin Yunshu dissipated his dignified and elegant posture like a relieved fish, like an ordinary woman sitting quietly on the pavilion, quite playful. What's going on? Xiaoyan asked. As you know, in our royal family now, 3 electors are fighting openly and secretly, each forming a gang. Although I have awakened the power of stars that no one has ever had, it is still too weak to make me completely suppress the villains of Tianxin continent. Moreover, many high-level officials in the Tianyuan Mountains seem to have placed me in the 10,000 gardens, but in fact they are protecting me, but they are secretly imprisoning me, because they are also trying to tame me as a chess piece in their hands, allowing me to successfully compete for the throne, even it's the last thing to capture the power of the stars in my body. Lin Yunshu said with a sigh of relief. Obviously she already knew about these things, but she couldn't say it because she was here. Starter, are all of them here? Xiaoyan frowned when he heard the words. As early as when he entered the Wanyuan garden, he noticed a lot of hidden auras. Among those auras, the presence of a few people made him feel quite troublesome. Link to www.novelmtl.com. About 40% of the combat power has all surrendered to me, but there is still 60% of the power, and among these 6 layers of power, there are several who have the absolute right to speak. Lin Yunshu muttered. Internal and external troubles, it seems that this matter is troublesome. Xiaoyan also felt a rather troublesome smell in his voice, and his scalp suddenly became numb. Now that you are here, I will hold an internal meeting tomorrow. Only by thoroughly solving the internal problems can we fight the enemy together. Lin Yunshu said in a low voice. Okay. Xiaoyan nodded, agreeing with Lin Yunshu's approach, but now he can only use soldiers to block the water and cover up. New 81 Chinese website updates the fastest computer. Originally, I just planned to give Xuanling continent some resources and force to protect my master, but unexpectedly I caught a big fish. Am I right, Lord of Endless Fire Territory? After the troubles were resolved, Lin Yunshu suddenly became beaming. Don't worry, based on our friendship, we will definitely not let you down. Xiaoyan also smiled. He also wanted to see what the so-called hop high level inside the Tianyuan Mountains really had. Place. However, Xiaoyan still felt that this Princess Lin Yunshu seemed to have some connection with the Ji Zan he had seen before, but he didn't ask. The error-free chapters of Fight Breaking the Sky God of Yan Emperor will continue to be updated on linkttonovel.com, and there will be no advertisements on the site. Please collect and share. If you like Yandi of the God of Fighting, please collect it. The Yandi of the God of Fighting is the fastest to update. Continuing from the previous episode 1776. The next day, the sun in the garden was like fire, and the countless flowers were dazzling. Is your lord up? His Royal Highness has sent me to take you to the main hall to attend today's meeting. It was Lin Shuang who had guided Xiaoyan yesterday. Lin Shuang was considered to be a very important member of the princess's side in terms of strength and loyalty, which also showed that the princess valued Xiaoyan. Let's go. As soon as Lin Shuang finished speaking, Xiaoyan pushed open the door and walked out. Today's Xiaoyan put on a rather elegant cyan robe, and the ancient ruler of the fire was put away, his breath was hidden, and he still looked like an ordinary person. A few minutes later, Lin Shuang led Xiaoyan through the garden to the main hall. Warui Hall, here is the palace where Her Royal Highness Princess Lin Yunshu lives. The palace is quite huge, and the predecessor of the palace is a huge conference room, which is used to hold some more grand meetings. The whole conference room is decorated with countless luxurious amethyst agate, full of magnificent atmosphere. His Royal Highness, why hasn't the guy you mentioned come yet? Could it be 0-hour stage fright? At this time, a total of 8 figures stood quietly on the seats in the conference room, and a middle-aged man at the end sneered. These 8 people are all middle-aged or gray-haired old men, but these guys are all outstanding people who support Her Royal Highness. The strength of 8 people, the weakest is also in the 6-star Do Xian, and even the powerhouse of the 7-star Do Xian level. In the Tianxin continent, the 7-star Do Xian powerhouse can already be regarded as a strategic resource, but there are only 3 of the 8 people. He is a loyal supporter of Her Royal Highness the Princess. Although the other 5 people are also supporting the princess, they all have bad intentions, and it is one of the 5 who speaks. Lin Hao, the late 6-star fighting immortal, is the powerhouse in charge of daily affairs in the Tianyuan Mountains. Lin Hao, This is not your Lin mansion, this is the Princess Palace. Suddenly, another woman in red glanced lightly and spoke indifferently, but that kind of terrifying power made the hearts of the strong present a little shock. 7-star fighting immortal. This fierce breath made their hearts shudder like a cold wind. Lin Hao, what are you worried about? Her Royal Highness naturally has her own way. Watching the woman in red exit, the second white-haired old man gently opened his eyes and circled around. Sir Shuiyuan is here. Just when the smell of gunpowder was extremely strong in the conference room, a light voice came from outside the conference room. I'm sorry for making you wait for a long time. Shuiyuan laughed heartily, and without stopping, he went straight to his seat and sat down. Now that everyone has arrived, the meeting will begin. Boom! With a sound, Princess Lin Yunshu slowly rose from the throne with a noble gesture, and for a while, a touch of silver energy easily completely enveloped the entire conference room. The power of the stars. Seeing Her Royal Highness's handwriting, the 9 people in the conference room were all surprised. The power of the stars is mysterious and unpredictable, and this princess is truly gifted. All of you are the elders of the royal family, or the minds of the top forces in our Tianyuan mountains. We have summoned everyone today, and everyone must have guessed the meeting. Princess Lin Yunshu's beautiful eyes glanced around slightly, and finally her eyes stayed on the red clothes. As for the woman, these 3 are her absolute loyal supporters, so she is confident enough to preside over this meeting. His Royal Highness, the subordinates are unknown, please let Her Royal Highness speak clearly. At this time, the entire conference room was quiet for a while, then Lin Hao and the 4 figures around him looked at each other, and then spoke to the princess. In the voice it turned out to be full of a hint of oppression. Today's purpose is naturally to unite the power of our Tianyuan mountains. Only by resolving internal concerns can we be unanimous. The princess said softly, since the princess has already said it for this sake, then we will not hide it. The strength in our hands is more tyrannical than the other 2 factions. As long as Her Royal Highness promises us, after the event is completed, you will give us the source of the stars, and we will naturally let Her Royal Highness obtain the real throne in the fastest time. Lin Hao seemed to be instructed by the other 4, and he spoke word by word. The power of the stars is related to the treasure left by the founder of the star continent. How can it be given to you who have no royal blood? Hearing Lin Hao's words, Lin Yunshu smiled slightly without any fear. Her Royal Highness, don't forget, the power in the hands of the 5 of us occupies a quarter of the entire Sky Star continent. At this time, Lin Hao couldn't help but murmured. Obviously, this Lin Yunshu has been since Shuiyuan. When she arrived, it seems to have become different, and she has become more courageous. At the beginning, her decision to the 5 of her was only a promise, but now she looks like this. Don't be angry, everyone, I have a solution. I don't know if it is feasible or not. At this time, Shuiyuan stood up and smiled slowly at everyone. Oh, Your Excellency, what's your best trick? Lin Hao also didn't know why, and suddenly looked at Shuiyuan in surprise. It's better to hand over the power you have in your hands to us. What you dare not do, we will help you. Shuiyuan was like a demon, and the smile that filled the corners of his mouth made everyone's heart shudder, even the provocative aura. Inobvious, however, crack, bold man. You can't find death. Hearing Shuiyuan's arrogant words, Lin Hao's face changed drastically, and a wave of hatred emerged, wishing to smash Shuiyuan's body into 10,000 pieces. Little guy, you said that you are the lord of the endless fire territory, but this is the Tianxing continent. It would be too arrogant to say such words here. So let's stay. Softly, a rare smile contained a threat of death. Do it. For a while, Lin Yunshu also knew that the opportunity was fleeting, and snorted coldly. Tian Yuanwei? 6-star fighting immortal brother Lin Yu. You! What are you doing? As Her Royal Highness's voice fell, dozens of guards in silver armor and some powerful confidants rushed out of the originally empty conference room. 6-star Dushan late stage? Holy flame? The 5 of them were just about to launch a counterattack, but when they saw the amber flame on Shuiyuan's body and the sudden surge in strength, they were dumbfounded for a while. Who would have thought that the domain master of this endless fire domain actually has such a mighty force? Go ahead, you must tear this place apart. Since you can't control it, let's replace it. Seeing this intensifying scene, the 7-star fighting immortal old man among the 5 said lightly. Don't worry, you guys don't have a chance. Box of 10,000 woods. Seeing that the 5 were about to attack, Lin Yunshu smiled slowly at Shuiyuan. The box appeared in the princess's slender hand, and even the appearance of the box of Ruizi, the wood attribute in the body of the strong person present, dimmed a bit. Calm me down, holy flame fire. For a while, just as the 5 of them had just started, Shuiyuan's amber flames filled the air, restraining him for a while, unable to move. Sea of stars, 10,000 withered trees. After a while, the delicate green box on Lin Yunshu's palm was thrown into the air, and his handprint squirmed rapidly. You dare to steal the national treasure. Capital offense. This is a death sentence. Looking at the princess surrounded by green light and the power of stars, the wood-type fighting chi in the 5 people was like a deflated balloon, draining rapidly. All of them gave up resistance for a while, and their pupils were filled with a sigh of relief. An unbelievable look. They know that they may not be able to retreat today, because they themselves are wood attributes, and the power of this national treasure can easily imprison and exile them, so this seemingly grand meeting has turned into a single the crushing of the aspect, or the conspiracy of Her Royal Highness. Even now, they still can't imagine that Her Royal Highness, who was controlled by them like a puppet in the past, actually has such a fierce means. Continuing from the previous episode 1777. Finally, let me wait until this day. After Shunshi, seeing the 5 strong men's body aura plummeting and no longer having any fighting power, Lin Yunshu gently walked from the throne to the 5 people, sneered, voice it turned out to be filled with an unprecedented relief. Damn it. At this time, the 5 people were dying of breath in their bodies, and they could only look up at the princess with great difficulty. You. How did you do it? At this moment, the leader of the 5, the old man of 7-star Do Xian, asked incredulously. Since this princess returned from the Xuanling continent, they discovered that she possessed the power of stars in her body, so she was secretly imprisoned in this garden palace, and her every move was under her surveillance. How did she manage to win over so many strong? The most important thing is the national treasure in his hands. Thousands of wooden boxes. The 10,000 wooden box contains an extremely fierce aura. Once it is completely activated by the royal bloodline, it can make all wood attributes lose their combat effectiveness in a short time. Thank you Shuiyuan for this. Of course Shuiyuan brought this to me. Lin Yunshu nodded lightly. Yesterday, Lin Yunshu and Shuiyuan had a lot of conversations, and this plan was also a part of it, but the 10,000 wooden box was not brought by Shuiyuan. The princess said this. I am afraid it is just to create momentum for Shuiyuan. Take them down and keep them under strict supervision. After a while, Lin Yunshu smiled lightly. Now that these people have been completely resolved, the power is in hand, and just now has enough strength to compete with the other 2 powerhouses. Ha ha ha. Lin Yunshu, you imprisoned a few of us, but you forgot the huge power behind us. If there is no order from us, I'm afraid you. Looking at Lin Yunshu's methods, the expressions of the 5 of them suddenly changed. Papa. At this time, Lin Yunshu clapped his hands lightly, and suddenly several quite similar figures poured in from the back door of the conference room. How is this possible? Lin Yunshu, looking at the 5 people pouring in front of them, both in appearance and aura, they were very similar to the 5 of them. At this moment, they finally realized the seriousness of the matter. It would be great if you were obedient. Your strength, they will inherit it for you. Take it. The majestic voice sounded like a queen's anger. Yes, Your Royal Highness. As soon as the voice fell, the guy with Lin Yunshu's Keqing fighting immortal as the main leader took the 5 people down. This time, I'm afraid they will end up in hell. My subordinates pay tribute to Her Royal Highness. The next moment, the 5 fake Lin Hao who had just emerged smiled respectfully. Go back and remember not to reveal any clues. After you go back, set up your own forces. I'm afraid it won't take long for the real storm. The princess stared into the distance and shook her head slightly. Yes, these 5 people are very similar in body and appearance, so that their breath is disguised, so it is extremely difficult for people to detect. Quote. After some restlessness, the meeting room here was getting quiet again, only Shuiyuan and Lin Yunshu were left. It's very clever. I thought there was going to be a fierce battle. Shuiyuan waved his hands helplessly and sat on his seat. These guys have heavy soldiers in their hands and have long wanted to do this. It's just a matter of taking you here today, Lin Yunshu said with a smile. Is there anything else I need to do? Although Lin Yunshu smiled in relief, Shuiyuan still sensed a trace of concern and immediately asked. Just waiting for your words. Lin Yunshu smiled maliciously when he heard the words. Sure enough, Shuiyuan also had a feeling of being calculated. Now that my Tianyuan mountains are completely settled, I am waiting for the real election day to enter the empire and compete with the other two. However, I always feel that the father's condition is not so simple. It seems that he was maliciously targeted. Lin Yunshu analyzed carefully. Is there any news? Shuiyuan immediately became interested when he heard this. A dignified 7-star fighting immortal complete powerhouse can still be afflicted by illness, even bedridden, which is a bit too serious and strange. This matter should be related to the other two. They are all suspects, but there is no iron evidence to prove. There is a coastal town in the Tianxing continent. After returning from where, the father became infected with a special disease, which became more and more severe. Lin Yunshu kept saying, Is there a specific location? Shuiyuan nodded, knowing the importance of the matter. Yes, it is a coastal town. It is said that there have been sea beasts making trouble recently, but now the election day is approaching, and I have to be in Tianxing City, even my subordinates. Once I leave, I will be discovered by the other two electors. Ellipsis quote. So Shuiyuan, this time I want to ask you to help me find out. I think there is the truth about my father's illness. Lin Yunshu frowned, quite worried. Okay, no problem, leave it to me. Shuiyuan smiled lightly. This kind of thing was not too difficult for him. Shuiyuan, thank you. After the success, regardless of success or failure, I will open up a different dimension of immortal flames for you. At this moment, Lin Yunshu shook his head lightly and said quite playfully. Immortal. Yan? After Shun breathed, it was Shuiyuan's turn to be surprised. You already know? Shuiyuan looked at the rather playful princess in front of him in surprise and said you were in the ghost world. Luckily you were told by a subordinate. You are really a very powerful person guy. Lin Yunner said with a smile. He. Shuiyuan nodded lightly. This time really served multiple purposes. Take a rest. Tomorrow Lin Shuang will send you into the dark passage, which is the passage leading to the coastal town. But remember, you only have 3 months, and in 3 months, whether you realize the truth or not, you must come back, because 3 months later, I and the 3 electors will have an election. At that time, I need your help. Lin Yunshu's tone was solemn, and every word was filled with a faint worry. Okay. The two nodded, and it was quiet here. Immortal flame. I don't know if I can really rely on immortality and immortality to explore the enviable Supreme Avenue. Shuiyuan chuckled and walked towards his residence. Actually, they are all wrong. Isn't the power of the stars so easy? This power is not only related to the space that opened the immortal flame, but also related to the ruins of the fallen stars. But now of the 3 electors, I'm afraid I'm the one with a low chance of winning. Shuiyuan, whether it will succeed this time will depend on you. While speaking, the princess slowly disappeared, and after the 5 heretics were imprisoned by her, she was replaced by one of her subordinates. The Tianyuan mountains are unusually united, causing the strength here to skyrocket in a short period of time, making the other 2 princes feel vaguely uneasy, but behind this seemingly quiet, it is like a stormy sea is about to come. The error-free chapters of Fighting the Sky God of Yan Emperor will continue to be updated on linkttonovel.com, and there will be no advertisements on the site. Please collect and share. If you like Yandi of the God of Fighting the Sky, please collect it. The Emperor of the God of Fighting the Sky is the fastest to update. Continuing from the previous episode 1778. The next day, the sun was shining brightly and early in the morning, Shuiyuan was sent into the dark passage by Lin Shuang alone, heading towards the coastal town without disturbing anyone along the way. For an important bargaining chip, the less people know, the better it is for them. At the same time, this kind of news was known by the other 2 princes. Prince Lin Feng in the Tianxia Mountains, because he was busy wooing the Chinese military officials of the royal family, so he neglected it. After all, his character and force determine everything. Let the 7th princess do what, under his absolute force, it is also due to the sincerity of the people, but the Prince Lin Fengya who lives on the Tianxuan Mountains has some strange movements. Prince, the 7th princess has sent someone to Shuiyuan City. I'm afraid I already have some doubts about the emperor's condition. In the bamboo forest in the mountains, a rather elegant scholar pushed a wheelchair and said softly, "Send someone to keep an eye on it. Now that the election is imminent, we must not make any mistakes." I'm afraid that kind of thing on the Emperor's body will not last for 3 months. As long as he dies of poisoning before the election, then everything will go on according to our plan." During the speech, Lin Fengya's eyebrows were filled with confusion. A rare suffocating aura, this kind of breath is really out of bounds for the prince who is quite popular in peacetime. "Yes, His Royal Highness." Nodding lightly, the scholar pushed the wheelchair to accompany the prince for a walk. "Strange. Why does this place have an aura that disgusts me? Could it be a foreign evil race?" Shuiyuan, who was in the dark channel, walked towards his destination, and a wave of uneasiness appeared in his body. This secret passage can only lead to the coastal town, so Shuiyuan's perception came from the front. At this moment, in the coastal town. This is a fairly fertile city called Shuiyuan City. The city is close to the edge of the seamouth. All kinds of boats and hunting equipment are readily available. There are quite broad reefs and beaches. In Mine, the city is quite prosperous, and people come and go in an endless stream. Obviously, this place is quite prosperous because it is far from the sea and is the throat of transportation. At this time, in the center of Shuiyuan City, there was a magnificent garden. The garden was quite peaceful, and the big 3 characters, City Lord's Mansion, were written on the plaque. "My lord, according to the secret letter sent by the prince, His Royal Highness the 7th Princess has secretly sent someone to come to us. It seems that he has noticed something." The prince said, "At this last moment, let us not reveal any clues." At that time, in an airtight secret room in the garden of the mansion, 2 figures stood slightly. Of these 2 people, one of them was wrapped in black aura, apparently like a bodyguard in charge of intelligence, and the other was wearing a silver cloak, and golden animals appeared one after another on the cloak, which was quite luxurious and noble, and the breath revealed invisibly. It turned out to be chilling. Butler Tian, although this guy's strength is only in the early stage of 5-star Do Xian, he has the few fighting power in the entire Shuiyuan City. No one will look down on him. In this city, except for the city lord, I am afraid that he has the highest status and power of one person. Well, I see, go back and tell the prince, as long as my share of the reward is a lot, let him send whoever comes, and I will wipe out the place. Butler Tian nodded lightly and smiled. My subordinates take orders. The black-clothed guard nodded lightly and disappeared here in an instant. 7th Princess, it's better not to know about this kind of thing. You don't have to come to this muddy water, and I'm afraid you will end up in trouble. After all, the things behind Shuiyuan City are very involved, and it's not something you can handle with a mere girl. Susu. Butler Tian's face suddenly became a little distorted and muttered. Steward Tian, today is the patrol day of Shuiyuan City. You and the city lord must go together. The city lord is already in the front hall. After Shun breathed, the stone door of the secret room was knocked by a guard. Okay, I'll go right now. Butler Tian sorted out and left gently. On the other side, the distance from Tianxing City to Shuiyuan City was quite short, so it was half a day overcast, and Shuiyuan also arrived at his destination smoothly. This is the so-called choke point, and it really lives up to its reputation. At this time, Shuiyuan gently left the secret passage, stood alone on some rocks on the edge of the sea, looked at the bustling city, and smiled. However, Shuiyuan did not use any connections to find the person in charge of the city. Even if Lin Shuang handed him a token before leaving, this token was enough to make the city lord obey his orders obediently. Because Shuiyuan always felt that since the 7th princess said that this is the root cause of the disease, I am afraid that there is a big problem here, so before Shuiyuan found out the problem, he would not believe anyone. Although this city is prosperous, it always feels that something is wrong. Shuiyuan glanced away, and found that the waves were bursting with turbulent waves. The sweet sound, combined with the sound of the busy city, shook his head and said, This little brother, looking at your appearance, you are quite a face. After a while, the sea breeze blew, and suddenly some boats quietly docked not far away, and some fishermen who went to sea came back one after another, watching Shuiyuan alone. Here, I can't help but laugh. The people of Shuiyuan City have always been simple, and many human beings have extremely thin fighting chi in their bodies. Some fishermen also go out to sea to fish to make a living. Hey, old man, I just came here. I'm a wandering wanderer, but I always feel that something is not right here. Does the old man know the reason? Seeing this, Shuiyuan grinned enthusiastically. Went up. Oh, little brother, you don't know, Since the emperor returned from us, he has suffered a serious illness, and there is no sign of recovery, so we are being watched by many guys. Originally, our place was very lively. After such a trip, the city is on strict guard, and we go out to fish without harvesting anything, so we don't know what the situation is. The old fisherman sighed and explained to Shuiyuan after hearing this. No, I think this place seems to be ill. Because there is a lack of vigor here. Shuiyuan shook his head. The huge city seemed to be filled with a morbid weakness. This kind of aura can only be faintly detected by the power of the soul. Anger? I really don't understand you, but let's enter the city as soon as possible. Today, the Lord of the city will personally inspect everything in the city. If you have any questions, you can directly respond to the Lord of the city. This kind of opportunity is rare. With some fish in your hand, quickly cross the reef beach and head towards the city. It seems that this place is a bit difficult. Shuiyuan glanced at the endless deep sea. A shock emerged, and even in the deep sea with no end, there was something vaguely making Shuiyuan extremely uncomfortable. Continuing from the previous episode 1779. Since ancient times, Shuiyuan City has had an unwritten rule. At noon on the last day of the month at the end of each month, the city owner will go out to investigate many dangers and some unknown secrets in the city. Therefore, the security of Shuiyuan City is also quite good. The Lord of the city is here. Long live the Lord of the city. Quote. At this time, in the center of the city, countless people voluntarily stood in the second row, and a well-trained soldier divided the crowd. It was so, and the enthusiastic atmosphere also made the blood boil in the body. Wu Kun, the Lord of Shuiyuan City, the strong man of the ancient family in the city, is a subordinate who has sworn allegiance to the 7th princess, in the middle stage of the 6-star fighting immortal. I remember Lin Shuang said that behind this guy there is a quite powerful water family. Support. Shuiyuan easily entered Shuiyuan City, and he was also in the crowd at this time. Looking at the man riding a white horse on the street in the field, some information secretly poured into his heart. This guy is not the object of suspicion. After a glance, Shuiyuan also gave up staring at the city lord Wu Kun. After all, relying on Shuiyuan's current huge soul power, unless the 7 stars fight immortals, it would be difficult to hide himself against him. Perception. My lord, under your leadership, Shuiyuan City is becoming more and more prosperous. If the 7th princess can come here in person, I'm afraid I will be very pleased. In the center of the street, the city owner rode a white horse, and Tien Steward followed him, but this guy had a smile on his face and was also riding a white horse. Hopefully. But now some fishermen go out to fish, and they have no harvest, or even have gone forever. There is no such thing in the records of our Shuiyuan City, but it should not be underestimated. Wu Kun enthusiastically waved to these people and whispered, obviously aware of the problems they are facing now. This is the negligence of the subordinate, and the subordinate will deal with it in the near future. Listening to Wu Kun reprimanding himself, Tien Butler smiled humbly. If that's the case, let's go. It's better to go back and solve other things as usual. As soon as the voice fell, the two and the guards started to march. Ho ho ho. In an instant, just as the two were about to leave for the next place, among the crowd, suddenly there were several men dressed as fishermen, with dazzling red lights emerging from their bodies, their pupils turning scarlet, and a breakthrough was made in one fell swoop. The soldiers blocked, the asterisk mouth opened, and the blood-colored fangs emerged. The speed was so fast that it directly attacked the city lord. Guards, stop them! The crowd was full of voices. Now that the scene appeared, it naturally caused a lot of panic. At this time, Butler Tien snorted coldly, and suddenly several people who had already been hidden in the crowd, the speed of plainclothes skyrocketed, and they went to their uniforms. Bang bang bang! The fisherman, who was in a madness, ignored it, moving quickly and quickly, directly overcoming their obstruction in one fell swoop, biting his blood-colored fangs at Wu Kun. Squeak! With a sound, Wu Kun's eyes closed gently, and suddenly a thick humidity filled the streets, and even the fisherman who had fallen into madness. He was actually bound by a silver blister, easily bound in place, unable to move. What's going on? Seeing Wu Kun taking action to subdue several people, Butler Tien asked the guard beside him with a livid face. My lord, we have strictly checked the people who come and go. We really don't know about this kind of thing. When asked this way, These people couldn't help but muttered. Don't blame them for this. Come here, take these people back, and I will personally interrogate them. Wu Kun lightly tapped, and suddenly the violent aura of several people suddenly diminished, and they fell into a coma. Maintain the order at the scene. Today's parade ends here. As soon as the voice fell, the white horse gave a high-pitched voice, and the crowd suddenly disappeared here. Is that a violent aura? Shuiyuan had been standing quietly among the crowd, and couldn't help but muttered at this moment. Wait, those people are my uncles. How can you do this? Just when the violent people were brought back by the city lord's mansion, a young man jumped out of the crowd and couldn't help roaring at him. Boy, don't confuse the public, get out of my way. However, no one paid any attention to this young man, and the soldiers kicked him aside. You demons in human skins. You should go to hell. The young man roared after being kicked aside. The corners of his eyes couldn't help turning red because of the pain. Boy, you are making trouble. I will take you back and send you to the water prison. Seeing this guy's stubbornness, the soldier roared. They are sick. The lord of the city will give you justice. Let's go. At this time, Shuiyuan stepped forward gently, supported the young man, and with all his strength, took this guy out of here. Little brother, let's talk. He easily took this man away from the noisy crowd and came to a no-man's land, Shuiyuan said softly, relying on his intuition, what this guy should know. Okay, but I know what you want to ask. The young man pondered for a while, then stared at Shuiyuan's dark pupils, and said word by word, if it wasn't for Shuiyuan just now, I'm afraid he would be in quite a dangerous situation. After all, even if it was himself, if there is a mistake, these soldiers will also subdue themselves first to maintain order on the scene. It was my uncles who just attacked the city lord. The young man calmed down and whispered. Why did they attack the city lord? Do they have any deep hatred? Shuiyuan asked back. No, the lord of the city is quite friendly to the city, whether it is the mercenaries who go out to sea to kill sea beasts, or the fishermen like us. I don't know why they want to assassinate the lord of the city. The young man said blankly. This guy. Shuiyuan didn't interrupt him when he heard it. After all, this man's strength is only at the level of Di, and he is extremely weak, so if he lied, Shuiyuan would be able to recognize it at a glance. However, since not long ago, when we fishermen went out to fish, most of the time they didn't catch anything, and even some people did not return, and even if they caught a fish, that kind of fish was like crazy, and it was as big as before. Are not the same, and my uncle and the others just ate this kind of fish by mistake. This happened. They used to be quite enthusiastic, but after swallowing this kind of fish, they didn't say a word for the whole day. Once it was night or noon, they would go crazy and bite when they saw anyone. The young man was recalling road. Is there such a fish? Shuiyuan immediately realized the seriousness of the matter and said, no more. The man shook his head, wondering why Shuiyuan asked that. Where can I buy this kind of fish? Shuiyuan still didn't give up. If he could get one of this kind of fish, he might be able to discover a lot of secrets. It shouldn't be. But if you go to the mercenary union, there may be. The man thought for a while and hurriedly said, is there a mercenary union? Shuiyuan asked in surprise. No, but every time the mercenary union goes out to hunt sea beasts, they will get a lot of these fish, and they will seek help for their own safety. If you want to get this kind of fish, you can go to the mercenary union to have a look. The man said softly, you take this thing. If your uncle or a few of you have any problems, let me know as soon as possible, and I can help you. Shuiyuan gently handed a piece of soul power to the man, and suddenly disappeared like a ghost. Dushan Powerhouse. Seeing Shuiyuan's terrifying movement speed, the man gently accepted it and said with envy on his face,